Continue our discussion on history. So far we have reached up to 1920, right? So in the last session we have stopped at 1920 Nagpur Session of Congress, and I have told you the resolution for non-cooperation movement is actually passed in the Congress session, Nagpur Congress session of 1920. Now before that, so here in this session I'll be talking about non-cooperation movement in detail, okay? So which was started in 1921. So we will be talking about this. So what is the significance of Nagpur Session of Congress 1920? We have discussed already in the previous session, and I've told you the resolution for non-cooperation movement was passed over there. Then if you remember, we have already discussed the difference between non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, right? What is non-cooperation movement? Non-cooperation movement is simply you are not cooperating with the government. But when it comes to civil disobedience movement, there is a disobedience or you are breaking some laws. Okay, non-cooperation movement, you're just refusing to cooperate with the government. So that's all about just non-cooperation. There is no breaking of law in non-cooperation movement. But when it comes to civil disobedience movement, there is breaking of law which are involved. So in this movement, there is no breaking of law. There is no call which is given by Congress, neither by Gandhi, not to pay tax. All those things was not there. So it is a non-cooperation movement. If you remember, in one of the previous session where we have discussed about arrival of Mahatma Gandhi to India, we have discussed three important incidences, right? So we have discussed about Champaran Satyagraha, we have talked about Kheda Satyagraha, and we have also discussed about Ahmedabad mill strike. So Champaran Satyagraha was related to peasant issues, that is related to indigo cultivation. We have discussed about Tinkatiya system and everything. The second one, Kheda Satyagraha, was also related to peasant issue, which was related to again payment of taxes. Third one was related to the workers issue. So all those we have discussed in detail, but what was the significance? The first one, that is a Champaran Satyagraha, was actually the first civil disobedience movement launched by Gandhi in India. That is the significance of Champaran Satyagraha, the first civil disobedience movement. I'll tell you why it is civil disobedience movement. And when we discussed about Kheda Satyagraha, I've told you that it was the first non-cooperation movement by Gandhi. So what was the difference between the civil disobedience movement and non-cooperation movement? We have seen in detail over there. And when we have discussed about Ahmedabad mill strike, I've told you this was the first hunger strike by Gandhi. So in these three ways, these three incidents are significant when Gandhi came to India. Okay, so if you remember in Champaran Satyagraha, Gandhi actually asked the peasants not to pay tax till the time British look into their demands. So Gandhi is asking for non-payment of tax. Okay, so non-payment of tax. So this was against the law. So that is why I've told you this was civil disobedience movement. Okay, so non-payment of taxes against the law, so you're violating the law. And then we have discussed about Kheda Satyagraha, where if you remember, that was related to again payment of taxes. Actually, if you have a crop failure, use of 1/4 of that a normal year, you are entitled for non-payment of tax. But British government forcefully tried to collect the tax. Okay, so Gandhi again asked the peasants not to pay tax. So here also again in Champaran Satyagraha also Gandhi gave a call for non-payment of tax. Here also Gandhi gave a call for non-payment of tax. In Champaran, I've told you it is civil disobedience movement, but here I'm saying non-cooperation movement. The reason is, here, even though Gandhi gave a call for non-payment of tax, here the peasants are not going to violate any law. Here you are legally entitled not to pay tax. So even if you are not paying tax, that's not against law. But in case of Champaran, if you are not paying tax, that's against the law. So it was civil disobedience movement. Here, the government is illegally collecting tax. So what you are doing is, you are refusing to cooperate with the illegal demand of the British government. So that's why this becomes a non-cooperation movement and not a civil disobedience movement. That clarity has to be there in your reading and in your thoughts. Why in the first case, although Gandhi is asking for non-payment of tax, it's a civil disobedience movement. And here in Kheda Satyagraha, the same thing, Gandhi is asking not to pay tax, but it becomes non-cooperation movement. The reason is, you are legally entitled not to pay tax. So even if you are not paying tax, it is legal, it is not illegal. But in the previous case, if you're not paying tax, it is illegal. So there it becomes civil disobedience movement. Here the same thing become a non-cooperation movement. You are refusing to cooperate with the illegal demand of the British government that and you're not paying the tax. So I hope this is clear for all of you. And then we have discussed about, if you remember, we have discussed about the reunification of Congress of Lucknow session in 1916, right, when Tilak was released from jail. Tilak and Annie Besant took a lot of initiatives and effort for the reunification of Congress, and by that time Congress was also realized that the nationalist movement was weakened, and the Congress was not happy with the 1909 Indian Council Act. Okay, so because of this, Congress was also ready to join hands with the extremist, and Tilak gave number of assurances that he won't go for any mass movement. Okay, with that, there was a reunification of Congress in 1916 Lucknow session. And 1916 Lucknow session is again important for Lucknow Pact, which we have already discussed, which was signed between Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Tilak. It is also known as Tilak Jinnah Pact. And in Lucknow Pact, the most important point is Congress and Muslim League took a joint anti-imperialist stand. So if you remember, till then Muslim League was actually showing loyalty to the British, and in fact, if you remember partition of Bengal time, under Shimla deputation, they have actually offered a formal written support to the British government, but now they are changing their strategy. For that, there are many reasons, because already Muslim League is dissatisfied with many of the decisions of British government, especially calling off of partition of Bengal, even though Muslims actually supported the partition of Bengal. So that is first thing. Secondly, there is actually a generation gap in the Muslim League. The new leadership, like under Jinnah, in their opinion, for the long-term interest of Muslims, it is better to take an anti-imperialist stand. Okay, and thirdly, if you see, when we discussed about socio-religious reform movements under Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, I've told you he started Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. Okay, and there was a long-term demand of Muslims that it should be converted to university, but that demand was not accepted for a long time. But later in 1920, it was converted to university, and that's the Aligarh Muslim University. Because of all this, Muslim League took a anti-imperialist stand, and that is actually the highlight of Lucknow Pact. And if you remember, one of the most important point in Lucknow Pact is Congress also accepted the Muslim League's position with respect to joint electorate. So in the questions, which among the following is correct with respect to Lucknow Pact? If you get that kind of question, if one of the statement is Congress accepted separate electorate, if you see that, I've seen many students will go for this as a correct choice, but that is not correct. Congress did not accepted the separate electorate. In Lucknow Pact, what has happened is Congress accepted the Muslim League's position in separate electorate. So Congress never accepted separate electorate. Congress is not in need of separate electorate. Congress don't want separate electorate. Congress is always talking about joint electorate with reservation. But here what Congress accepted is Muslim League's position in separate electorate. Muslim League demanding or Muslim League needs separate electorate, so Congress is accepting it. Otherwise, if Muslim League don't have any such demand, Congress will never go for separate electorate. It is not the case that Congress accepted separate electorate. That clarity again you need to have. So each and every discussion, I'm making the things clear, whatever is required. I may not be able to cover entire facts, but I'm covering the perspectives in a much better way, and whatever possible way I'm covering it. Okay, so we have done that, and then we have talked about 1919 Government of India Act, Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, and then we have discussed the important points, out of which diarchy was more important. We have spent a lot of time over there, and we have discussed that in detail. And then we have I've told you that Congress was unhappy with 1919 Government of India Act also, and Congress did not contested the election following the 1919 Government of India Act. And after that, we have talked about the stick, right, carrot and stick policy. So the carrot was 1919 Government of India Act, and the stick was Rowlatt Act, and we have discussed the features of Rowlatt Act and the points related to Rowlatt Act. We have discussed Jallianwala Bagh massacre, which is related to Rowlatt Act, and we have also discussed about the commission which was appointed to inquire into the charges of police excesses which has happened during Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and the outcome of that commission also we have discussed. And all these elements or these events actually culminated into the non-cooperation movement, which was launched in 1921, and the resolution for non-cooperation movement was passed in 1920 Nagpur session. This is what we have done so far. So here we will be talking in detail about non-cooperation movement. Okay, so let's get started with today's session, that is non-cooperation movement. So this is actually the first, or not the first mass movement. There was a largest mass movement before also. We have talked about partition of Bengal, the Swadeshi movement. That was by far the largest mass movement till then. And then Home Rule League was also one of the biggest mass movement. But this was the biggest ever mass movement which was there so far. So non-cooperation movement, which we can also write as Khilafat, non-cooperation movement, 1921, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, the biggest mass movement that you have seen so far is the biggest mass movement that the Congress had organized so far was non-cooperation movement, and there was a large-scale participation from both religious communities. Both Hindus and Muslims participated. So Hindus and Muslims both participated in large scale. And how it was operated, I've told you there is no breakage of law. So it was basically through boycotting the British goods or the foreign goods. Okay, so boycott foreign goods and alternately promoting Swadeshi. Okay, so promoting Swadeshi means you can directly connect it to achieving self-sufficiency in all walks of life. Okay, so you are looking for self-sufficiency, and for that what you need to do, what they have done is, on one side they are promoting Khadi, so Khadi was promoted, and on the other side educational institutions which are run by Indians also to be promoted. So education, that means Indian run schools to be established. Okay, now few other points are like this. That is also considered important. Those Indians who could afford to give up their jobs, government jobs, they can give up if they wish to do so. That means it is not compulsory. It was voluntary. If you can afford, you can give up the jobs if you wish to do so as part of the movement. Secondly, there is no call from the Congress side or from Gandhi's side that you should not pay tax. If there was such kind of call, it automatically becomes a civil disobedience movement. So this was also a question. It can also be asked as a question: which among the following is correct with respect to non-cooperation movement? Congress gave a call for non-payment of tax. No, it's a standard wrong answer choice. If you see, as soon as you see Congress gave a call for non-payment of tax, it cannot be non-cooperation movement because you're violating a law. So what you need to know is, even if you don't know about non-cooperation movement, if you know the difference between non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, you can actually get the correct answer. Right? As soon as you give a call for not payment of tax, it becomes civil disobedience movement because you are violating the law. Okay, so let me write down these 2 points. Those Indians who could afford can give up their government jobs if they wish to do so. So if they wish to do so, that means it's not compulsory. Okay. Secondly, Congress did not give a call for non-payment of taxes. Okay, so here this point is what I want to stress. So again and again, you should not have any confusion. Congress did not give a call for non-payment of tax. If they would have given a call for non-payment of tax, it becomes a civil disobedience movement. But here it is not civil disobedience movement. It was a non-cooperation movement just because they did not give a call for non-payment of tax. Only thing was boycotting foreign goods and you are refusing to cooperate with the English. Okay, so Swadeshi is promoted. That means you are not cooperating with them. That's why it is a non-cooperation movement. So it was started in 1921 and it was ended in 1922. Actually, after that particular incident, Chauri Chaura incident. Okay, so Chauri Chaura incident, it was actually non-cooperation movement actually called off by Gandhi. What was Chauri Chaura incident? Chauri Chaura is actually a place in UP. The police station in Chauri Chaura, which was in UP, actually attacked by some of the people, and around 22 British police officials. So 22 police officials were killed by attacking the police station. So this is what Chauri Chaura incident. And once this incident happened, actually Gandhi called off this movement. And there are many reasons which you can connect to this particular, this particular calling off of non-cooperation movement. Firstly and most importantly, that when this kind of incident happened, now the British government can argue that there is a breakdown in law and order situation. So if the British government is arguing there is a breakdown in law and order situation, they can actually use this as an excuse to crack down the entire movement, and they can go heavily on the non-violent and peaceful protesters. So there may be a intense crackdown by the British police. So Gandhi actually have understood that this may happen, and if this 22 police officials died, maybe 10 times or 100 times Indian peaceful protesters could have been killed by the British police if you continue this movement. And also during this time, it's been a 1 year already, and there is no major achievements during that time, and there is no immediate resolution was on site at this particular moment. So Gandhi and Congress actually threatened the British that they are going to launch a civil disobedience movement. That means it includes non-payment of tax also. So they have seen now there may be a possibility of direct confrontation between British and Congress, and at that time only this incident happened. So this would have been taken by the British as an excuse to go for a crackdown of Indians. And thirdly, it is purely about Gandhi. This incident which happened is actually totally against the ideology of non-violence by Gandhi. So in Gandhi's opinion, people don't understand, but people actually don't know about what he mean by this non-violent satyagraha, and people did not have that maturity at this particular moment. So it was actually ideologically against it. And one of the other reasons is when non-cooperation movement started, it got that intensity because of Khilafat question also. I've already discussed that. Now Khilafat question lost its significance because in Turkey there was a mass uprising, and Khalifa of Turkey was actually overthrown, and democracy was established under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Pasha. So all these things are actually happening simultaneously, and people also started feeling a sense of fatigue because it is going on around 1.5 years. Many people have actually given up their jobs, but there is no achievement during this time, and there is no immediate resolution on site. All these were actually the reason why Gandhi called off this movement. But Gandhi in his own have taken up this particular decision. So many leaders or many people in Congress was actually against it, especially the younger generation leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. They considered it as a Himalayan blunder, and in their opinion it was like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So that is the other side of this calling off of this movement. But Gandhi called off mainly because of these reasons. Especially you could justify more than Gandhi's ideology and everything. This reason police would have used it to crack down the movement. Okay, otherwise non-violent peaceful protesters, police cannot go and use force. But at this point they got some reason, so an intense police crackdown may happen. So I hope this is clear. I'll write the important points here. And after that, Gandhi was taken to the magistrate in 1924, and there was a very famous statement by Gandhi at that time. What in law is like a criminal offense may not be an actually criminal offense. It may be highest moral duty of a citizen. So this statement I'll give you in the correct order, so that actually I've given you a lot of statements of Gandhi. You can use all these statements not only in history. It is not that relevant. You can use it in essay, and most importantly you can use these statements in your ethics papers. Whenever you're writing any case study or anything, you can use these words. See, legally it may not be correct. What Gandhi did may not be correct legally, so you may be punished and you are produced in front of the magistrate. But what Gandhi is saying, it is the highest moral duty as a citizen. Okay, I'll come to that, but there's a point that we need to write down now. Okay, so we will write down the reasons for calling off of this movement. Okay, so reasons for calling off. The first one, Gandhi was ideologically opposed to the use of violence. He was of the opinion that masses had not yet learned the discipline and adherence required for a non-violent satyagraha. Okay, so this is one of the reason. Secondly, we will talk about Khilafat reason, which I have told you. Khilafat movement now lost its significance because of the Caliph in Turkey was overthrown and democracy was established under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Pasha. We'll write down that also. One of the central question of non-cooperation movement, that is Khilafat question, had disappeared due to mass uprising in Turkey, which overthrew the Caliph and led to the establishment of modern secular democracy under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Pasha. Okay, third point, Gandhi argued, very important point, Gandhi argued that the Chauri Chaura incident would be used by the British as an excuse to argue that there was a general breakdown in the law and order. This would then be used to justify an intense police crackdown on peaceful protesters across the country. Okay, now apart from that, masses started experiencing a sense of fatigue. It's been long time, consistently it's been 1.5 years, there is no immediate resolution on site. All these things you can write, people experiencing a sense of fatigue. Okay, now the other side also you can write, however, so we'll write the other side here. However, Gandhi's decision to call off non-cooperation movement without a wider consultation with Congress meant that many within Congress were opposed to Gandhi's decision to call off NCM. Okay, and the younger Congress workers, the younger Congress leaders or members such as Jawaharlal Nehru, okay, Subhash Chandra Bose, felt that this was a Himalayan blunder and was equivalent to snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay, so already I have discussed all these points, so there is no need to have any doubts here. Gandhi was ideologically opposed to the non-violence violence. Okay, so this was actually seen against Gandhi's ideology, and people have not yet understood the discipline which is required for the non-violent satyagraha. Then related to Khilafat question, and then related to a possible police crackdown of the movement. Okay, and many people within Congress was actually not happy because there was no wider consultation, and Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose was of the opinion that it was a Himalayan blunder. Okay, now let me write down that particular statement when Gandhi was produced in front of magistrate in 1924 because of this, and Gandhi admitted all the charges. Actually, Gandhi admitted, and Gandhi took up all the responsibility of this movement, and he stated, what in law appears to be an illegal act is actually to the highest moral duty of a citizen. Okay, so you can use this statement in your essay or ethics answers, especially ethics. See, here the question is, what is ethical and what is legal? It's like this, you can understand like this. If this is legal and this is ethical, you can see here these are ethical but not legal, and Gandhi is talking about that. Okay, here you can see legal but not ethical. For example, if you take a marital rape, okay, marital rape, it is not an offense in India. Actually, in 90 countries, more than 90 countries, it is actually a separate offense. And in India, Justice Verma committee actually recommended to criminalize this marital rape. But you know, even if there is a complaint related to marital rape, you cannot charge under 375 or 376, because rape, the consent is important, and that consent is actually is given. It's like the consent is there when you are getting married. So you cannot charge under this particular section. Maybe you will go for Domestic Violence Act, or you may go for 324, 326, or hurt, or some other cases, other sections is what you can charge. So marital rape is actually not an offense. So it is legal. You won't consider it as rape if you're married. But is that ethical? No, it is not ethical. So that is what I want to tell you here. Again, if you take UPSC, there's always a question in your ethics, or especially in your interview, there's always a question. If not in ethics also this question was always expected, and it came also. Interview, there's always a question. Okay, see, UPSC is given large powers, huge powers, unlimited powers, extreme powers to police officers and army. Okay, but is that ethical? It is purely legal, right? That power which is given is purely legal, but is that ethical is a question. So may not be ethical at some point of time. See, what is this? This is legal and ethical. So larger the overlap, better will be the society. Okay, so this is what I want to tell you. So I hope what all things we have discussed you understood here.